Okay, the intermediate HACCP course, modulate control measures. The aim of this lecture, this module, is to explain to delegates the importance of control measures and the learning outcomes. By the end of this unit, delegates will be able to define control measures, describe the parameters to which controls can be applied, suggest measures which effectively control hazards, including generic control measures. Okay, control measures are actions required to prevent or eliminate a food safety hazard or reduce it to an acceptable level. Controls can be applied to temperature, time, pH, AW, size, shape, weight, additives, visual assessment, and chemical analysis. pH, by the way, is the acidity, alkalinity. AW is the water content or moisture content. Genetic controls using approved suppliers, which is a prerequisite or part of the prerequisite programs. Here you could get contamination. Staff vigilance and training, another prerequisite, and you could get contamination, multiplication and survival of bacterial or other types of contamination. Then we got cleaning and disinfection, another prerequisite, contamination and survival. Pest management, another prerequisite, again will prevent contamination. Good personal hygiene, another prerequisite, and again which will prevent contamination. And waste management, another prerequisite, again preventing contamination. So genetic controls, another prerequisite, stock rotation, first in, first out, which will prevent multiplication of bacteria. Color coding, another prerequisite, will prevent contamination. Good design, another prerequisite, which will prevent contamination. Effective maintenance, again a prerequisite, this time preventing contamination, multiplication and survival. Well constructed kitchen or food premises, another prerequisite which will prevent contamination. And protect and cover food, which will prevent contamination. So considering, or rather going on with the generic controls, segregation of raw ready to eat foods, another prerequisite, will prevent contamination. Salt, or the use of salt, sugar and acid in food, will prevent multiplication because they act as ways of making sure bacteria won't grow in food. Bacteria don't grow in a salty environment or where there's a lot of sugar or an acidic environment, so it prevents them from growing. Adjusting the pH, the alkalinity or acidity, will prevent multiplication. And keep dry, so there's no moisture, which will again prevent multiplication. Looking at the size, weight and shape of a joint, so not too big, keep it of a uniform size, will prevent multiplication. Time management, how long is the food in ambient temperature, for example, which will prevent multiplication. Storage temperatures of fridges, freezers, again will prevent multiplication as long as they are running at the right temperatures. And cooking and processing as quickly as possible to prevent survival. Cooking and processing obviously to the right temperature. Physical contamination controls. We've got things like inspection belts, which will prevent contamination. Again, all physical contamination. Glass policy, or rather a no glass policy and a no wood policy to prevent contamination. Metal detection, again to prevent contamination. And the use of X-ray machines, again to prevent physical contamination in the end food product. Chemical contamination controls, don't store food in old chemical containers, or you could get contamination from the chemical that was in there before. Separate chemicals from food, keep them in separate areas, in separate lockable cupboards Don't use chemicals during the food production period. Don't store chemicals in unmarked containers. Again, all preventing chemical contamination. Rinsing following chemical cleaning. And remember, many of these controls are prerequisites to ensure general good hygiene practices are adopted so that the HACCP plan can concentrate on the more significant hazards. So the key points for that section, we looked at control measures, the parameters to which controls can be applied, measures which effectively control hazards, including genetic control measures.
Thank you for watching our video. Please take a moment to visit our website by clicking on the link below. We'll see you there.